We will officially get started. Good morning, STrEAM Academy. Welcome, everyone. We have a great group with us today. I am your friendly host, Mr. McKelkey, principal of STrEAM. And with me, as always, is my faithful and trusty sidekick, our superhero administrative assistant, Mrs. Beyondich. Say good morning, Sylvia.
Good morning, Sylvia.
If I sound extra crisp and clear and awesome this morning, it's because we purchased, thanks to Ms. Kodelman, we purchased some external microphones at her recommendations for staff who are, Miss Kracia has one at home, I see. And so I don't know the difference on my end, but I can tell, like when we talked to Ms. Kodelman on Zoom and she first got her microphone, we could really tell the difference, the sound quality. If anyone is interested in those external microphones, shoot us a message, or Mrs. Bionich could put a link in the chat. So that's been really handy for us. It is September 23rd already. And we start all of our meetings by sharing our mission with you, which is that Anchorage STrEAM Academy empowers students to be involved learners, critical thinkers, and engaged citizens who are inspired by the natural world. So we like to start off as well with a couple of good things that are floating around out there, positives, anything that's happening that you want to it's joyful in your life that you'd like to share. Would anybody like to share something good that's happening? Mrs. Bonerts, can you introduce yourself and tell us something good?
My name is Ms. Bonerts. I am the school counselor, and something that's good. I had family here for about 10 days, and boy, I love them, but they all left yesterday. I'm ready to sleep again.
I think that's always, we always, in Alaska especially, right? Like people come to Alaska, it's a big deal. We love when they come, and we love when we have our homes back. I love fall time in Alaska. It's my favorite time of year, and it's always been since I was a little kid, and the leaves are all changing. The colors are beautiful. I love the crispness in the air. I got home last night from work, and I went for a little 3-mile run, and the air was clear and crisp and cool. And last night I was out on my deck, and you can see the stars again when it's dark. And that, I guess for our guest who's not from Alaska, we go, Tamara, we go long stretch in Alaska. We go 6 months or more where it's not necessarily like bright light all night, but at the least it's dusky light. It's not dark enough to where it's a true dark sky, and we don't see the stars for that whole stretch of the Alaskan summer. So we're finally getting back to where it's dark at night. So I love fall time. Anyone else like to share something good?
I'm excited because we have books to give away.
We do. That's right. We're going to give away some copies of our books today. So on our agenda today are two big things, really. One is we have a guest author, and we're going to visit with her and learn more about her passion and her book, and get some ideas from her. And we're really excited about that. And then the second part, second half hour, we have our 7th grade math science teaching cohort, and they're going to share, as part of our cohort presentation series, they're going to share what's happening, all the cool things that they're doing. Remember that the STrEAM Gear store is open, and we still have coffee mugs available, a select few. Nice shirt, Jen Nicholson, nice polo. And so we got some folks repping their STrEAM gear this morning. Last time I was on a Zoom with Daryl, he had his STrEAM quarter zip on, so I always appreciate that. But let's jump in. I know that a lot of folks are really excited for this. So Twitter is one of my favorite professional development agencies follow a lot of educational leaders and speakers and experts and topics. And I do a lot of, frankly, a lot of professional development on Twitter. And I get a lot of leads from other principals all over the state and all over the country on good things they're doing, what books they're reading, what resources they're using. And so at some point this summer, I stumbled on a Twitter thread about a passion for kindness, and a principal that I've known for a long time in Oregon was really passionate about this book. And so I picked up a copy of this book right here. And mine is pretty well worn, as you can see. Sorry, there's even some coffee stain on it. Sorry. I picked up a copy of this book, and I liked it so much that I knew my favorite partner in crime had to read it right away. So I was like, Sylvia, you've got to read this book. And I bought a copy for Sylvia. And so Mrs. Bionich and I read Passion for Kindness, and we just thought we wanted to share the message and the power of this book because it's so good. And we both were like really impacted by this book. And I think if you have a heart for education and a heart for kids or just people in general, if you're wired like Sylvia and I both are, that everything in the world revolves around relationships and trying to make the world a little bit better of a place, then this is definitely a book for you. So I reached out to the author, Tamara Letter, on Twitter and said, hey, we love your book. We do this thing called morning coffee. Would you be interested in joining us? And lo and behold, she said yes. And so all the way from the East Coast, 4 hours ahead of us right now, it's lunchtime there, and I'm still blinking, sleep out of my eyes a little bit. So that's kind of funny. Tamara Letter is with us. Thank you for joining us, Tamara, and welcome. Welcome to the STrEAM Academy group, and welcome to Morning Coffee.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join you this morning. I'm so fun to see all the different faces. I'm kind of scrolling through. So you're on 3 different screens, so I keep kind of scrolling through the different screens so I can see all of you. But I'm so happy to be here, and I appreciate this opportunity to chat with you about it.
Thank you. So we have copies at school of the book Passion for Kindness, and we're going to give a couple of those away at a couple different points today, using a random number generator and then just counting through my participants list in order, and so that's kind of exciting. Yeah, we loved your book, and we were really inspired by it. And specifically, I liked that it had direct application to teaching and to schools, because you're an educator and you talk a lot about how, a lot of your ideas around sharing kindness and spreading kindness really started with your practice. Tell us about what you do and about your career and your profession and your teaching background.
Sure. So this is my 24th year in education, and I started out as a classroom teacher teaching elementary school. I've taught 3rd grade, 2nd grade, 4th grade. And through the years, my husband was in the Air Force originally, and so we traveled to different places. So I had the privilege of teaching in unique spots like Las Vegas, Tennessee. And so I've had some experience in big cities and in small rural communities. And I eventually went back and got my master's degree in administration. So I'm licensed as a principal as well. And through my travels, I worked as a differentiation specialist, where I kind of coached teachers in how to differentiate their curriculum to meet the individual needs of their students. And eventually I saw this job opening for an instructional technology. Kind of cool. I don't know much about technology, but I do like helping people, so maybe we can figure things out together. And I applied for the job and got it, and I've been in the position ever since because I love it so much. So this is my 13th year as an instructional technologist, and my main job is to work directly with teachers and to empower them to learn more about technology and how it can be used in the classroom to engage and enrich the learning experience for students. And along the way, I suddenly I discovered that I had this other passion that I didn't even know that I had, and that was for sharing kindness with other people. That journey kind of kicked off when I turned 40, and I decided for my birthday I was going to do something a little bit unconventional, and I decided to do 40 acts of kindness to celebrate my 40 years on Earth. And my friend Lisa pushed me a little bit more, and she said, wait, you're an instructional technologist. Like, you can't just do them. Like, you have to tell people what you're doing because they might want to do it too. And you're all about technology. Like, you should start a blog. And this was back in 2012. I didn't know what a blog started. And so I Googled blog, and I Googled, what do you do? Acts of kindness. I don't know what I'm doing, you know. And I ended up creating a blog space where I wrote stories about every single act of kindness that I did in celebration of my birthday. And it didn't matter how small the act of kindness was, I wrote a story about it. So if I held the door open for you that morning, I wrote a story about me opening the door for you that morning for you, and what reactions you might have had and how it made me feel, and with the hopes of sharing my joy with other people. And then after I did those 40 acts of kindness, I kind of kept going. And I had lots of experiences in doing kindness for other people, supporting different events and things that have come across my way during that time. And I realized, wow, you know, this would be so cool if we could bring this in the school. As a technologist, I started doing that with my collaborating teachers and said, hey, would you be willing to do a lesson with me where we use technology, but we kind of focus on kindness too? And that's what started a passion for kindness and bringing those lessons into the schools.
That's a really awesome story, and it was really cool to read about, and then now to hear about how you got started and how this grew organically. I think it's pretty neat how that happened. And being an educational technologist has got to be interesting right now when our entire profession has sort of shifted to technology. One of the reasons I really connected with your book, and you just touched on doing kindness projects with students. We are a project-based school. That's one of the main focus of our charter. That's our driving educational philosophy, is project-based learning. And so our staff does a lot of work around PBL and implementing PBL as a primary driver for how we teach and how our students learn. And so the idea of doing kindness projects and putting, empowering kids, empowering students to develop their own acts of kindness and to carry out their own kindness projects really clicked with me, and I thought might be inspiring for our teachers. Can you tell us just a little bit more about how you facilitate kindness projects, and maybe just some of the most impactful, some of the coolest projects you've seen students and teachers take off with?
Absolutely. So it definitely started organically. I had turned 40, was doing acts of kindness. I wanted to bring it into the schools. I had started a blogging club where I had kids writing their own blog posts and sharing them out that way. And then I just was like, I wish we could do this all year. Like, it wasn't just a one and done kind of lesson. And so one of the teachers that I was working with, Lori Cross, she's a 4th grade teacher at Mechanicsville Elementary in my school district, Hanover County Public Schools. And she and I were collaborating and chatting about future lessons. And I said, I kind of have this crazy idea of like giving kids the opportunity to actually do kind but money to do it, because we work at a school that is Title I funded. So we have a lot of kids that might not have the ability to kind of do some grandiose things. And I told her, I said, I have this idea about, for a whole year, if I come into your classroom once a month, we eventually build up your kids' technological skills so that they can eventually do a project where not only are they doing, we give them money so they can really buy materials and figure out how to spend the money, and we can bring in math that way. But then we kind of set it up a little bit like a science experiment. So they would have to show their purpose for their act of kindness, and the materials and the procedure and their reflections, to kind of give them that little taste of the scientific method to go with that. And then I was like, it'd be great if we had these little projects that the kids could create and make. to build their confidence in talking about kindness and sharing how they put good in the world. So we wrote a grant for our local Hanover Education Foundation. And it was the first time that anyone had ever asked for straight out money to give the children. It was a really, like, we didn't know if that was going to fly or not. But we put in there that we wanted to give every single kid in her class a $10 bill. And then we wanted to guide them and let them loose and let them spend the money, you know. And then with that money, they would have to research, what could you buy for $10? They learned very quickly you can't buy much for $10. They learned very quickly which stores were the better deals, because they would, you know, compare prices. So we had a lot of investigative learning before we even did the act of kindness. But the kids they had free reign to do whatever they wanted for their act of kindness. And so some of the students chose to follow their passions. So if they were passionate about animals, then they chose to do kindness passion projects for the local animal shelter, or maybe they would buy things that they could leave at a dog park, or a friend of theirs had gotten a new pet. They might support that friend with some treats and things for that pet. We guided the students and talked about their purpose was to, of course, learn how to develop their own speaking skills, because we wanted them to present these projects as well. So as they continued to work on they were creating Google slide decks with like 6 slides in them of each of the parts of their project. And then we had a kindness share fair day, where kind of like a science fair where you set up the little trifold board, but we set up laptops and we had the kids standing beside their laptops, and we invited the whole community. I mean, pretty much anybody we saw. We're like, hey, do you want to come to our kindness share fair? Like, we want to talk about kindness. Come see what we're doing. And so the adults would come in and visit with the kids, and they would learn, what did you do? What were some of the cool things? And how can you take just $10 and change someone's life? Like, does that happen? Can that happen? Can you make a difference in the world if you're only 8 or 9? Do you have to be a grown-up to do good things? Like, these were questions we were pondering in our lessons each month. And so the kindness share fair, as the kids were presenting their projects to those who came in, my Twitter page. And I had, you know, just put it out there to see if anybody would retweet our link to our projects and share them out. And then I brought the kids back in the following week to say, this is your impact. Look at my Twitter feed. Look at these impressions that, you know, we talked about the statistics of Twitter and how things would go viral, and what a retweet was, and what were the comments people were saying. And the kids got to see, wow, I can take this idea of project-based learning and customize it to my passions and do something good with it, but I can also share with the world. And so it's been really exciting year after year. We're in our 4th or 5th year of doing this. It's been exciting to see the ripple effect and to see the people that comment on the projects and share them out. And some of the projects that stick most in my mind, we had a little girl who said, you know, I know in our local community, I don't see a lot of homeless people standing on the street, but when I go down in the city, I do. And I just want to, like, give them food. Like, how do I do that with $10? And so we have our little collaborative conversations where we call them kindness conferences, where we go over, like, what's your project about and how can we make your project better? And I said, you know, I bet with $10, you could buy some sandwich making supplies and a brown bag and like Post-it notes, and put a little kindness note in a bag saying, like, you know, you are special, or you matter, and make a little lunch, like get a water bottle, sandwich. So we figured it out. And yeah, she made these little brown bags, and her family, because this is kind of also involving community, because in order for the children to receive the money, we had to have the parental agreement that they would support their students and that they would help them, and the kids had to decide, like, how do you need help? Do you need someone to drive you to Target? Do you need someone to drive, you know, to take you somewhere to help you? So her parents had agreed that they would take her to downtown Richmond, Virginia, you know, where there is quite a large homeless population. And she handed out these bags with her parents' guidance But she handed out these bags to these strangers. And when she came back to report to everyone else at the Kindness Share Fair how her project went, she made people cry because she would tell them with such passion in her voice that that experience changed her life. And I mean, even now, it gives me chills just thinking about the way she
Oh,
said it. She would look
so
you straight in
awesome.
the eyes and say, "It changed me. It changed my life. It changed me as a person because they're people too."
That's
They just
incredible.
had that moment.
One of the things um, I've always told students about acts
Did,
of
but there are so
kindness
many of them that do.
is what kindness does for us when we do kind things, when we
Mm,
perform acts of kindness, the impact it has on ourselves, how it makes you feel. And I always used to tell students, it's like when you give a present to someone at Christmas or a birthday party. How does that make you feel when you give that
mhm.
person a gift and they're excited? How great do you feel? And so I like that aspect of your book and your work. And to take that a step further, I really felt like you framed acts of kindness and doing kind things in a way that it can be an antidote for difficulty in our own lives and for grief. It can be an
Mm.
antidote and an answer for grief. And so for those that haven't read the book, some of the stories about acts of kindness are in response to real tragedy and real grief, real hardships, parents who lost, a child or losing loved ones, and just the very powerful impact. And Mrs. Bianich is holding up that section of the book.
The
That really,
Kindness Rocks.
yeah.
Yeah, for Parkland. Yeah, that tragedy there. It's
Tell,
true.
yeah,
That
tell
was
us about that. Tell us about kindness as a way to combat or counteract difficulty and grief and tragedy in our lives.
well, it's kind of funny because people that don't read my book or they haven't read it yet, they sometimes assume that it's just a happy book. Like, oh, Passion for Kindness. It's just such a happy little Pollyanna kind of positive book. And it woven throughout all the pages is my life story. And it's filled with heartache and grief and tough situations, loss of children, through all sorts of different circumstances. And in the book, what Sylvia was holding up about the Kindness Rocks, that actually happened on February 14th, a couple of years ago, the shooting at Parkland. And how do you explain that to your students when it doesn't happen at your school? And how do you develop that level of empathy and compassion for a tragedy that, is somewhere else? And as an educator, those things we hear of in the news are so heart-wrenching, and sometimes it's really difficult to separate ourselves from that and teach. And sometimes I think we shouldn't. I think we need to let our emotions sometimes be shown to students so they realize that the emotions they're feeling are real too. In that particular instance with the rocks, our kids were painting rocks. We were actually being recorded for our local television show that day, talking about doing kind things. We were making little kindness rocks and putting little positive messages on them. And then the shooting happened that afternoon. And it crushed me as an educator. The whole rest of the week, I couldn't function. And over the weekend, I thought, what are we going to, how do we move past this? And we came back to school on Monday. And I went to the kids and I said, guys, there is another school out there that is really going through a tough time. And I think they might need our kindness rocks more than us. What are your thoughts? Do you think we should just send them our rocks instead of keeping them and making our little school look pretty? Like, should we send it to them? And they all were in agreement. And so we did. 17 of them into memorial rocks where we painted the back black, and we wrote in the children's names and the teachers' names of those lives that had been lost so that they could place them around their own school as kind of a memoriam of those whose lives were lost. And so that was really tough. In our own local community, we have children through different reasons lose their lives. We had a small little tyke. He just turned 6. His name was Nate Matheny, and super cute little, just love him, super precious. But he had a cardiac arrest because he had Williams syndrome, and that's one of the complications that could happen. And he just had a cardiac arrest one day, and that was it. He was gone. And so that particular tragedy friend named Michelle, and we worked together to gather some other people, and we formed a little sisterhood of 12 women, and we called ourselves Secret Sisters. And we made a commitment that for an entire year, we were going to lift this family up through their grief. We were going to walk with them through that grief. And we were going to use kindness as our tool to walk with them. And so each month we agreed, we kind of made a private Facebook group so we could figure out how to do it all. But we agreed that each month we would pray for the family every day. Once a week, we would send a little card or a message. We would sign everything Secret Sisters, so they would never know that they were really 12 different people doing it. And then once a month, we would just do something a little bit bigger. Maybe we would send them a gift card to a restaurant that they could just have a meal and not have to worry about how to feed their family. Or maybe we would send them movie tickets and they could go see a movie. I know when the different holidays came, we sent them Christmas gifts, and we made Easter basket, and we put flowers on their yard. And I don't know how many of you have done the ding dong ditch, where you run up to somebody's door and you ring the doorbell and then you run away really fast and hope you don't get caught. If you haven't done it as an adult, you really should try it, because it makes you feel like you're 10 again. But we were doing those kind of crazy things. We were going to their house late at night and hiding little packages and things around their yard. But when that whole year was done, and they came to that 1-year anniversary of the passing of their child, we decided to reveal our identities. And we got a little picnic place at the local park, and we sent them an invitation to come meet the Secret Sisters. And everyone brought a dish, and there were lots of tears shed that day, but they were happy tears. And that experience changed us, because kindness is a catalyst that can heal. It can bring you joy. It can inspire you to do more. It can give you energy. I mean, it's biologically proven that you have these feel-good chemicals go through your brain whenever you see an act of kindness or receive an act of kindness or do an act of kindness. And so what we did not realize in that experience is that, it made us all better people in the end.
I love that about the book, and about just the focus on kindness. And I love that in the book you talk about the neuroscience of kindness and get into the brain science behind it. One of my favorite quotes from the book, and in terms of, and for me, I was just thinking about how to use kindness to work with kids and to work with our students on a lot of the really heavy, difficult things that we're dealing with today, right now, in our world. And so the quote is from page 145. "We are in the business of raising people." And I think just that first line struck me, because as I came up as an educator, there was a debate, maybe not so much anymore, about, between should we just be focused on content and, or are we teaching humans? Are we teaching social emotional learning? And that's really shifted to where it's an accepted norm now that we're teaching the whole child, and we teach, social emotional learning. And, I've always believed that we have a greater responsibility than just imparting knowledge and content. So I love that first part. And I started to highlight, we are in the business of raising people. We are in the business of shaping culture and molding the next generation of citizens in this world. Each of us has a role to play, whether teacher, specialist, counselor, administrator, parent, community member, or friend. The opportunity to change the world is right here in front of us each and every day. Oh, I love that reminder that as we can help our students grow and share kindness, we really are changing the world. I really appreciate your sharing and all of your time with us. I wanted to give other folks a chance to ask you questions or chime in. And also I want to go to the random number generator. Mrs. Beyondich, I might have to have you help me, we'll see. So we have 30 people online right now with us. Now I can't see my participant box because I'm sharing my screen. Mrs. Beyondich, how many people are currently our participants? All right, I've stopped sharing so I can look. Sorry, I can't hear you, Sylvia. 31.
31.
Oh, okay, there we go, 31.
Repeated.
That's okay. So 31. And we'll go back to screen share. I'll change this to 31.
Well, Principal McKelkey, we also have one on YouTube, watching us on YouTube. So if you could add that, make that 32, that would be great.
All right, we'll do 32, and then I'll count my boxes in my screen to the number that we arrive at. So this person will get a copy of Random Acts of Kindness from us. Number 6. So whoever, I count in a moment, whoever is number 6 will send you a Random Act of Kindness book. Would anyone like to jump in and ask questions of our author before we move on to our next segment?
Richard.
All right, Lisa Geary. Lisa, one of our parents, one of our STrEAM parents, already has a copy. So Lisa, you can tell us you want the book, or just have me do another random number. Okay.
Is that a random act of kindness?
Yes. All right. So I just hit the generator and we're at 14. So 5, 10. And that's Richard Bierer, Mr. B. Oh. That's kind of funny. You're number 14 on my screen. I can verify with a screenshot if anyone's curious. So Mr. B, you have a copy of Random Acts of Kindness coming to you from STrEAM Academy. Does anyone want to jump in and ask Tamara any questions, or just any last thoughts?
Yeah, I had a question, Tamara. Just with your personal experience, have you followed up with any of your students years later, so 5, 10 years later, and have any follow-up stories that would just be they kind of continue to really push those kindness and give that out to keep spreading that out to the world?
Well, that is a great question. And the students that we first started this project with are, they just finished middle school, going into high school now. So it's exciting to see once they were little, now they're getting older. In our very first year, we had a student who actually did a double act of kindness. She was passionate about animals and she wanted to donate things to an animal shelter, but she also had long, gorgeous red hair, so unique, but it was thick, it was gorgeous, it was amazing. And she cut her hair and donated it to make wigs for other children. And I still remember the day she came in with the short hair. And she was like, look, I did 2 acts of kindness. I've done this and this. And so we allowed her to have both of those on her thing. And many times I don't connect with children like on social media until they get a little bit older, because I just, I want to make sure they're adults before we're really connecting on social media, but their parents will connect with me. And so this child's parent friended me on Facebook and we became friends local in the community and stuff. And I saw that she did it again. So she grew her long hair out again, and then she cut it once more and she donated it again. And so I really truly believe that when we do these kindness projects with students, that we're planting seeds inside of our children's souls, really. And sometimes those seeds take a little bit longer to germinate. Sometimes they scatter and they have lots of seeds that come out of that scattering. And sometimes it's that one little plant that blooms, and it takes a little while for that plant to bloom again. And I think everybody's kind of on their own timeline with that, but it has been very exciting to have conversations when you run it. We live in a little local community, so you go grocery shop and you see somebody, and to see kids come up there and they'll refer to me as the kindness lady or the kindness teacher. And I'll say, so what have you done that's kind of, oh, did you, they can't wait to say, oh, did you know that I did this and this and this? And so they're always excited to tell you about how they're still continuing to be kind to others. And that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
Interesting point. I actually have donated my hair 3 times in my life.
I was just thinking how interesting it was that as soon as Tamara started to share that example, I knew Mr. B had shared his.
Oh my gosh, meant to be.
He grows out some long, lovely locks himself. So
my most recent was this past June. So last school year, I had really super long hair, almost down to the small of my back.
Wow.
And the students were impressed and everything, but they were definitely shocked when I came back to school this year. And I have to Nice
Super
short
short.
haircut today.
So you know how it feels. You know that feeling that you get when you are cutting it and having to donate it, and it's a part of you going to someone else. Oh my gosh, what a crazy example that matches exactly what you do.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. I appreciate it. All right, we'll start to wrap up this segment and let Tamara's a very busy person. We'll let her go about her day. And we have the next segment, the next half of Morning Coffee, we have Mr. B and Mr. Holsopple presenting on what's happening in 7th grade math and science, our 7th grade math science cohort. So they are coming up shortly. We want to do one more book giveaway. Let's do one more really quick here. So I just hit the number generator a couple times. So I am gonna hit the button and see who that box lands on. And we will give a book to number 3, which is Miss Kotelman. Miss Kotelman, we have a copy of Random Acts of Kindness for you.
Awesome. More books to read.
Passion for Kindness. And
Fantastic.
I know you do. I know, Miss Kotelman, I know you do a lot of things related to kindness and good works with your students. Do you want to share just one example of something you've done that is kind of in line with this topic?
So I guess one time, what I recall is we did do a small kindness project for a Wednesday with the middle schoolers, and they had to come up with something to give back to the school. We were going to try to scale it up. We got to the school portion, and one of my favorites was this girl who, you know, suffered from body image issues and was kind of uncomfortable with herself. Her act of kindness was to illustrate and create signs to put in the bathrooms for the girls that say, "You're beautiful, you matter." And they were there for, I don't know, a year and a half. I don't know if they're still there right now, but they haven't been touched. They haven't been moved. And I feel like that was really impactful and really nice. And it speaks to what Tamara is saying about how sometimes our areas of need, if we give out those things, then we start to feel it ourselves too. So sort of like how the best way to learn is to teach. So yeah, it was really fun to do that. I'm excited to read your book. Thanks.
Awesome. I know I like there's a line in your book, Tamara, that's just says something simply along the lines of, you know, what would it happen? What would our world be like if everyone shared one positive thing a day on their favorite social media platform? And so I've been trying to remind myself to share one positive thing or one kind thing a day. And it would be, it kind of takes me back to acts of kindness can be those really small, simple acts of kindness, and they make such a big difference. And one I always come back to is thank you cards. I mean, it's so easy to write a thank you card, and then you never know the impact it has on people. And I know when I get a thank you card from a student, it's so touching. It's just so amazing to get a thank you card. And Mrs. Bionich has ordered postcards, a lot of STrEAM postcards for any of our staff or board members who want to send a quick note, something just to try to make someone's day a little bit. So we've been doing a lot of that this year. We've been sending a lot of postcards to just say hi, and our students aren't with us face to face, but to let them know we're thinking of them. So those little small acts of kindness mean a lot. They're significant. My favorite things to do at STrEAM, a lot of times because we're a small school, when a staff member is absent, we don't get a sub, sometimes on purpose. And I'll cover several classes, and we take turns with that. My favorite thing to do when I cover class for a teacher before the class is over is to ask everyone in the class to write a note to their teacher, something nice. And then we leave them all the thank you notes. So. All right, we're going to move on. Tamara, thank you so much for joining us. Love to have you back again. Maybe if we take off with some kindness projects at STrEAM and do some things around that, we'll have you back on and present what we've done and share with you. Or just if you ever want to follow up and talk more about kindness, we're here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your wonderful and inspiring book. We love it. We appreciate it. It's been really impactful on us. So behalf of all of our staff and our parents and our school community, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a joy to chat with you today about kindness. And I appreciate the time that you took to jump in out of your schedule and to spend the time with me too. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll get to see you again soon.
We hope so. We'd love to have you back on. Thank you, Tamara. All right. The next thing on our agenda is we're doing a weekly cohort check-in on morning coffee. So each morning coffee, each week, we have a different cohort team presenting. I think last week, Miss Goodman and Miss Smith presented on 8th grade projects and the fire project and all the cool things they're doing. This week, our 7th grade math science dynamic duo, incredible team, Mr. B and Mr. H, Mr. Bierer and Mr. Holsopple. They are here and they're going to share what's happening. If you've got a 7th grader either in their classes now or by chance, even if they're not, they will be 2nd quarter, which is coming up quicker than you realize. So we're going to turn it over to Mr. B and Mr. H. I made you both co-hosts in case you want to share something. So what's happening in 7th grade math and science, guys?
Thanks, Mr. McKelkey. Appreciate it. The intro, always nice to have kind words said about you for sure. But as we are rolling through our newfangled way of learning, way of teaching with our distance, myself and Mr. Holsopple decided at the beginning of the quarter to do a team teach for our mission vision class or our combined class, our science projects. So in that class, myself and him are in the class the entire time together. We have all the students together for our cohort C and D. And right now we're starting up a new project that's going to last until the end of the quarter, which I know sounds like a long time, but is less than a month away. So not that long a time. But we have about 2 weeks here. We're going to have this work on Google Maps, mapping out a route from their house to the school. And then they're going to collect data on their average walking speed using timing devices and measuring out distances to see how fast they can walk over long distances. And then they're going to use all of that data to come back and make an argument to see whether it is feasible to walk to school or not. So as we're collecting our data, as we are working on our walking speed and things to that nature, the students will be getting outside. We talk to the students about, well, we don't want you just walking from one side of your room to the other and calculating your average walking speed. We want to do a sustained average walking speed. So 300, 500 meters, maybe even a kilometer that you're walking, and timing that out to see how long, see what your average walking speed over that sustained distance is. So we developed that together, and we are implementing that. We started, kind of launched it on Tuesday, talking about motion, talking about acceleration, talking about speed, the difference between those vocabulary words. And we are going to continue through until October 8th, will be our kind of final day. And then the next week, we'll have those presentations for the students presenting their data and giving their argument for feasibility of walking to school. But as far as math proper, the students are doing pretty well here. One of the big things I've been really trying to push is our asynchronous work. So one of the things that we use, that we have been using for the past couple of years, is the Alex program. So I'd like to just kind of share my screen here and show you kind of If this is your first glimpse at Alex, that's okay. So this is a student view. So this would be essentially what a student sees as they log into Alex. So they would start off, the essential thing of Alex is it's built really for students to work asynchronously at their own pace on their own path. So they could continue on their path, which would be this word problem here. So when you continue on your path, what that does is open up their learning page. You would read through that to kind of give an explanation, then you could start through and then they can learn the topic. There's a couple options over here. Sometimes there's a video to watch, but they could also open a new tab and search the topic to get a little bit more resources. However, just because Alex chose that doesn't mean that they have to do that one. They can drop down this menu here, and as you can see, it gives some ideas of, hey, would you like to do these ones? We think that these would be a good one. But what's nice for me is I can teach something in class, and then they can actually go and search for it. So one of the things that you can do, you can go from ready to learn to a specific topic, whole numbers and integers, evaluating a formula, integer addition, things like that. But then you can also actually even search for a topic. So let's say I search for algebraic expressions, and I showed the students, well, it doesn't say anything. Oh, well, that's because you're only looking at ready to learn or review. I want you to show all topics. So as it shows all topics, oops, sorry, that was in the outline right now. So as it shows all topics, what you want to do is, there it is. So evaluating an algebraic expression, whole numbers. That was something I did in class. So the students could just pick that whenever they work on things. As you can see, I talked to the students about searching. So I added that extra S in on my search so it didn't pop up because it's just an algebraic expression. So it can be kind of tough on your own. It can be kind of daunting, but the more and more the students will work on it, the more and more comfortable they'll get with it. And then I can give them assignments as well. So as you can see, they have a practice assignment, which is the chapter practice that I assigned to them and they're working on. So if they have any questions, the other thing that they can do is also send me messages. So if they have this message center, it's almost like an email type thing. And then they're able to send me a specific message. And I've had a few students communicate with me on that way as well. But it's a really good program. I like it a lot. In addition to Ireti, the students will be able to kind of work on that path. The algorithm will kind of figure out what's going on for them, what they're ready for to learn, and then it'll give them that learning page. But then also they can utilize any resources that the internet gives to them that they can type into a new tab and all that. So as you can see,
Thank you, Mr.
Oh, I just was saying, just to reiterate, the Ireti and the Alex really should be about 30 minutes on math and Ireti, 45 minutes in reading, and then 3 to 4 topics in Alex is what we recommend for our asynchronous day.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. B. Wednesday is e-learning day, and we keep reminding our students it is a school day. It's just not a synchronous or live class day. So we do expect our students to be working in Alex, and we do expect our students to be working in Ireti on the assignments and the lessons that have been prescribed. Those are two very different things. Ireti is designed to identify any gaps or holes that students might have, especially since we haven't been in school since last March, and to help them catch up, fill those gaps. And so that's a great tool that I'm sure we could all use. That, I forgot how to add fractions. I'll go back and work on that. And Alex is more grade level or advanced. It's more of your core math course. It's hand in hand with our core math classes. So Alex is a way for our students to work through their regular math or to work in an accelerated way. One of the reasons we've used Alex since we opened as a small school, we can't always have a separate geometry, algebra 2 class, but we can put our students when they're ready into pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, and we've had students complete algebra 2 using Alex. It's Common Core aligned, it's robust, it can act as an entire encompassing math course. And so students definitely should be working through Alex. If you have a student who's accelerated or wants to be accelerated, Alex allows you to do that. And we don't hold students back. So if a student finishes their grade level course in Alex, we'll move them to the next level. We'll move students into pre-algebra. If you have a student in pre-algebra, when they finish their pre-algebra in Alex, we move them into algebra. So it's that self-paced, work at your own pace tool that's really, really a good asset. So students, be working, be doing Alex, be doing Ireti, take lots of breaks in between those things. You can work on Ireti or Alex for 15, 20 minutes and walk around, take a break. Make sure you get some time outdoors and read. Have a book you're reading. Always be reading a book. Mr. H, do you want to jump in and share on your side of things, what's happening in 7th grade, or add to what Mr. B's been sharing?
Yeah, sure. So Mr. B introduced the upcoming project. I want to talk about junk drawer science, because that's our sort of project type learning that we're going to be doing in science. We started a junk drawer project and finished it in mission and vision, so that all the students were introduced in our combined class. And that was to take recyclable materials, or quote unquote junk, from around the house, and they built a model of a plant. And that was an extension of our first lab, where I sent home some science kits and the kids all grew their own seeds and did some experiments with the effect of chemicals on those seeds that they had lying around the house. So they were introduced into that concept of a junk drawer science in sort of an easier way, because they've been working with plants and stuff like that. But we have what's coming up in science is our whole next unit. We're sort of finished with the nature of science, and the second half of the quarter is devoted to life science, specifically to the building blocks of life, which are the cells. And so we're going to do another junk drawer project for building a cell using junk, quote unquote junk, that is laying around the house. So if there are parents watching, check with your kid before you throw something away, because they might be accumulating supplies that are useful in building that cell and demonstrating how the components work together to sustain life. And so just thinking creatively, I think, is a skill that I'd like students to build, not only the content, but also the creativity, the hands-on. It's going to be great. But that's sort of our next unit, our next project.
Awesome. I love the junk drawer science. That's such a cool concept. And it has me looking at stuff in a different way at my house, Mr. Holsopple, whether it's, spare random parts or cardboard, different size cardboard paper rolls or things like that. I'm always, wondering, I wonder if I should save these materials. We never know when we might need them for junk drawer science. Awesome. Lots of awesome things happening in the 7th grade math science classes. Parents, if you've got students in those classes now, those are some good things to be aware of and be focused on. And if your child is in 7th grade and they are in the ELA social studies cohort, you're in luck. First, those two teachers, Mr. Mosen and Mr. Perkins, will be on Morning Coffee next week, and they'll be sharing all the awesome things. Mr. Mosen's just getting back from a moose hunt, and so I'm sure he'll have stories to share and application for that. And so they'll be with us next week. And if your child is in 7th grade and in ELA and social studies, like we said, coming up here in just a few weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, we'll be shifting into 2nd quarter, and your student will shift from ELA social studies into the math science cohort. Awesome. That's bringing us to, it's almost 9 o'clock, and it's bringing us to close to the end today. So I want to thank everyone who joined us today. I think it was really cool to have Tamara Letter on. I encourage you to read her book. If you would just want to borrow it, we have copies at school. We have a couple extra copies. We will let you borrow a copy from STrEAM's library. and it's always a good idea to just share one kind thing or one positive thing. Share something kind, do something kind, write someone a note, send someone a quick message telling them something you appreciate or something good. Do a kind thing. It'll make you feel good. It'll make others feel good. So morning coffee next week, we will be talking a lot more about what our plan is for second quarter. We'll start in the next week to talk a lot more about second quarter and what that will look like at STrEAM. We are, we have some framework from the district on what they're doing district-wide for transitioning or, face-to-face learning. And so we have been working really hard on our school's very specific plan for what second quarter will look like for us. And I'm hoping that next week on Wednesday, we'll be at a point where we're ready to really talk in detail about our plan. I feel really good. We've worked really hard on a plan that is very specific to our school community, our needs, and what we're doing. I sent out a survey and we have had over 130 responses to the survey, which for a school our size, for a school community our size, it's a pretty impressive response rate. I don't think I've ever had 130 responses to something I put out at STrEAM before. So a lot of data, a lot of information, a lot of great feedback. And we'll talk a lot more in the coming weeks about what school will look like for us moving into second quarter. Any final words or last thoughts? And as always, I'll officially close at 9 and say goodbye and turn off the YouTube feed, but we will stay on for folks that want to talk, a little more offline. Ms. Gatlin?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that there is a 7th grade Zoom assembly today at 11:30. I know your teachers have been putting out the link for that for weeks now. So, and I've already had some kids, even a week ago, they logged in and they were already in the meeting. So people are ready. So see you guys soon.
Thank you, Ms. Gatlin. It is 9 o'clock. I'm going to say goodbye to our audience on YouTube and stop the live stream.